Hi, welcome to the YouTube channel. I'm going to paint with watercolor, use some texture and make a landscape. So this is like looking up at some trees. I thought that might be cool. So this is burnt sienna and blue, a dark blue. I'm going to start off with my corners and I'm going to press down and lift up, and I'm painting from the edge and it gets straight here. The four corners there, I mean a little bit bigger there. And then I'm going to kind of have an angle just a little bit. So they basically go into a circle or to the center. So press down, lift up, and trying to make it a little bit darker, wider in the beginning where it's closest to the edge. Add some more colors to it. Take your time doing this. If you want to use a pen, you can also do that. You don't have to use paint. You can let it dry and do that. So just pressing down, lifting up. This is a really classic color, burnt sienna and dark blue, mostly ultramarine blue. So I'm going to make some very dark, thin lines, very lightly glide the brush across. Take your time. If you have a smaller brush, you might want to use that. This is a number 6 round brush. And just remember to turn your lines. Okay, so this is orange and green. Makes almost a brown. I have a little bit more green than orange. Then orange and yellow. I kind of want a lighter green just to have some variation. I cleaned and blotted my yellow because it got a little dirty. So this is a sea sponge. You can use this, and I started off with it just to show that this is what you could do. But then I decided to transition using a toothbrush. So I'm going to cover this with some paper. I'm going to get some green, and I'm going to just splatter along the edges, holding the paper down very carefully so it doesn't move too much, using the green, just the pure green. And I'm really focusing on covering all the edges, especially closest to the border of your paper. So just go all the way around. Notice how I'm gliding my brush or my finger across the brushes. You will get your fingers stained. So now I'm taking orange. So I'm basically mixing it as I splatter onto the paper and not pre-mixing it. I thought that might look kind of cool. So I'm going to keep going, especially in the corners. I'm going to make it super dark, and then also really close to the edge, going back and forth, making sure I cover everything. So now I'm going to cover this up with green, and yes, you need some water to make sure that this kind of splatters on. If there's not enough water, it will let's use some blue. It won't really glide. It gets kind of sticky, and if it's too much water, it just becomes a big puddle. So you just have to kind of find the right balance. So I'm slowly getting my edges dark. I'm going to lift this up. Pretty happy with that. So I'm going to take some yellow with my splattering, and I'm going to try that first, get some colors going, and I'm trying to keep the very center of the light, almost white from the paper, but it might get some colors on it too. That's okay. So I'm going to get some of this, and then what I want to do is get the brush. And so I'm going to take the brush, I'm going to get some yellow, so I'm going to really wiggle that on my brush. It's really clean now. I did clean it. And just tap, dab, however you want to say it. Build up the paint, make it kind of clumpy in certain areas so it looks like the edge of a tree. At least that's what I think it looks like. If it's just an abstract design to you, then so be it. But I was trying to really make it look like you're looking way up at the tippy top of the trees, as if you're lying down on the ground. And I'm holding the paper down because it's starting to buckle. You could always tape your paper down too, if that's a good idea for you. But I just use a little tiny part of my finger to do that. Alright, I just feel like getting that depth, like it's that really intense transition. I want to make sure it's really dark at the corners, especially the edge of the paper, making that nice and solid. And it's just constantly going back and forth and seeing what you like. So thank you so much for watching this. If you want to blot it, you can. I thought I got a little bit too much paint, and that's always a great idea to do that with watercolor. So I'll be right back talking about the pen. So if you're happy with how it looks, then just stop here and just use the paint. I always find it's great to get a pen out, but it really needs to be fully dry, otherwise you will destroy your pen. And then outline it. It can be really any color. It could be like a green or a brown right now, but this is what I have. I have a black pen, and I'm going to do some wiggly lines. I am looking at a picture that gives me some ideas, or at least looking at some resources, or you can just look at what I've done, or just outline your colors. There's lots of choices here, but I'm starting first with the center, and then I'm kind of wiggling around to soften it as it goes along towards the edge. So do this however you want. If it ends up looking something completely different, that's also cool too. So thank you so much for tuning in, liking, subscribing to my YouTube channel. Take care.